Hi to all those seeking vibrant health. It's Dr. Rachel Northern here in Johnsburg Chiropractic and Wellness Center here in Johnsburg. And it's one of my once a month I try to do a presentation on different topics. And today I'm choosing neuroplasticity. And the reason why I do these topics is because my passion is to help people thrive and be healthier. And I want them to understand about their body and how it works and how they can empower themselves to take charge of their health. So that's my why of why I do these. So hopefully you join me and intrigued. I know neuroplasticity is sounds like a complicated word. Plasticity is like flexible, plastic's flexible. Neuro is our nervous system. So that's, what we're going to talk about. Like it's defined as the ability for the brain to adapt and change throughout a person's life. And so as a chiropractor, that's kind of what my main thing is, that the nervous system is the main thing that helps us adapt to our external environment, also internal things that go on with us. And I'm passionate about the nervous system and making sure it is adaptable as much as possible. And we have an ever-changing environment going on outside of us right now in our society. And I want to make sure that you know how to better this and help yourself with this. So part of it is talking about the neural pathways. There's all these pathways in our body. Some people say, we used to hear like you only use 10% of your brain. And really that's like 10% like us actually awareness of what we're cognizant of, like what we know we're thinking about. But a lot of the brain is our breathing, our thinking, our emotion. There's all these other things in the background that's going on in our brain. And we want to make sure that we have healthy pathways going on. We want to make sure those pathways are always growing and connecting and not facilitating unhealthy pathways. And the more we use a pathway, the stronger it becomes. And the more you engage your brain and your senses, we're going to talk about that, the better it is for your brain. So to keep it going and moving, if you're doing unhealthy pathways, for example, bad habits that you've picked up, facilitating those pathways, they're going to make them stronger. If you start to disengage in some of those bad habits, it starts to help you form healthy habits that are good for your brain. So you want to do those. Plus, you always want to be engaging your brain in new activities, healthy activities. So we're going to talk about that. So there's key points of brain health. We have physical. So mostly we're talking about the physical parts. Like how much you actually use your brain. Like, the joke, like people say, are you brain dead when you're sitting there just watching, Netflix and just binge watching TV shows and just not really engaging your brain and maybe entertainment. But if you're doing that on a constant basis where you're not really learning anything, you're not really growing, maybe watching a documentary where you're learning things and making you think different ideas is good, but maybe just data shoves just at you all the time. Social media can be, mind numbing. You're not really learning anything. It's just repetitive things. So, think about how you're using your brain, what uses you're doing. Stimulation, what are you stimulating? What emotions, what's going on with emotions in your brain? Nutrition, toxin avoidance, and detox. So we're going to talk a little bit of these. So usage, how are you actually using your brain? Are you learning new things all the time? Are you engaging new hobbies? Have you tried to engage in other activities that you've never done before? So just actually on my drive to the office today, I heard an ad for the local community college and saying how it has all these different enriching classes, like if you want to learn photography or learn how to watercolor paint or whatever, if you want to learn a new computer program or how to do your QuickBooks better as a business person, there's all these classes that are either free or discounted for the general public. So there's all kinds of variety. There's pottery classes you can go to that can be fun. I have lots of patients that are seniors that really, right now, the brain, this is going kind of in the dementia. We have a rise of dementia. And my seniors that are healthy and still with it are the ones that are taking these fun classes. I had a patient yesterday that is going to a quilting seminar or retreat, and she's like mid-80s. So it's kind of crazy. Like she's the most with it senior I know, and she's still engaging and learning stuff and still doing things, learning how to knit, using your hands. All kinds of stuff. So learning a new skill is really good. So Also, the constant pursuit of knowledge. I have another patient that's in her senior year that's writing. She still writes and writing novels and engaging her brain that way. So, and she's pursuing other things. So just all this, me, myself, I'm always got a book on my Audible that I'm listening to that's trying to learn new things, learn things about business and socialization and other things. And then also make sure that some routines are mind deadening. So if you're doing some repetitive patterns that just your brain doesn't have to think about anymore, for example, driving to work every day or sitting in the same place when you go to a certain place. Like for me, I go to church. We have a tendency to sit in the same place every time. And it's a kind of a funny church thing that we like joke, like that's their pew. Like visitors come, you're like, oh no, like don't sit in their pew. But it's okay to sit in other places to engage your brain with that. If I go to a seminar, I try to sit in one place one day and the next day sit in a different place on the other side of the room to try to get different pathways facilitated with that. So driving to work, I occasionally try to take a different way to work than the same way I always do all the time, just because we start to not pay attention anymore when we facilitate those pathways. So you want a stimulation. Stimulation, also exercise. So actually doing physical exercise, whether you're walking, that's another thing. If you're taking a walking path, try to mix up with the walking path because you'll stop paying attention to the details again, and it's no longer really engaging the brain. But making sure you're doing some exercise, it stimulates, like I was talking about, circulation, helps get good endorphins into the brain, stimulating that. Also, proprioceptive. Proprioception is how your joints know where they are in space, and they constantly need that data to engage the brain to say where you're in space. So again, with seniors, I have a lot. Actually, I'm getting to be where middle-aged people too don't have balance. They can't balance. That's that when you stand on one leg. And that's a lot because we're sitting a lot in our jobs, which we have lots of talks on that. So you can refer to other videos I've done of sitting too much in our society and not engaging these proprioceptives. So we got to engage that. There has been research that chiropractic adjustments actually engage and stimulate the brain as well. There has been studies even with stroke victims that's kind of stimulated the brain with chiropractic adjustments. They've actually seen it that light up on their brain scans of the chiropractic adjustment trying to stimulate some pathways to the brain. So I love what I do, and it's great for the brain. It stimulates the brain and helps the body, like I said, adapt better. And our brain is constantly wants new stimuli. It wants more different things. It wants variety. You can become boring. If you're bored, it's your own fault. You can engage in other things and stimulate that brain. Find things that bring you joy. Even looking last night, I stopped and paused and looked at the sunset last night, and my husband was a little stressed, and I pulled him outside. I'm like, look, it's so pretty, and engaged in brain. And it actually, I saw a little shift in how his stress level was. So engaging that, otherwise the brain can become lazy without it. And then that gets redundant, and then we start to lose some of the good receptors in there, and the brain can retract. So other ways to stimulate the brain, I have like a book that has like brain neuro exercises. There's probably, you could Google a couple of things to have some ideas on how to stimulate the brain and different things. But we have all these senses that sometimes we don't use. But like I said, last night I stimulated our sight sense. Like, let's look and actually study the sky and look at how pretty it is, and pause and look at things. Look at the details of a leaf, or in the wintertime, a snowflake. Like there's all these unique snowflakes, and actually look and start to appreciate those kind of things. Stimulate the brain for that. Create some memory too, which then you can associate with some emotional things. Like I said, that decreases my husband's stress. Touch. Have you ever stopped and closed your eyes and touched something? When the exercise in the book was talking about maybe learn Braille or learn something like that. I probably wouldn't do that myself. It looks time consuming, but sometimes I do stop and just close my eyes and touch things to kind of engage, like touch the outside of the orange before you peel it, smell that orange. Engage that when you're eating, engage all senses. Close your eyes, smell the food, pause. That'll get your body ready to digest and maybe produce some more digestive enzymes and get you prepared for that meal. So engaging, touching, sound, also closing your eyes and listening to the sounds. One of my vacations, I was in the Louisiana Bayou, and we went on a boat tour. And the favorite part of the tour was he had us stop and close our eyes and listen for 30 seconds. And it was amazing, like all the different animals you heard and the water flowing through. And I was like, it was like a physical, audible, thing, like with that auditory, it just made me like reset. And I just had this like deep breath I took. It totally shifted my brain. And I was like, my favorite part of that whole thing, and not seeing the alligators and all the other things, but that just pausing and listening to engaging in the environment that I was in. So taking time for that, again, back to that, you're hearing and like, what's going on? What are you listening to? I like to listen to audio books, and that helps me engage that brain. And sometimes I can tell when my brain is not where it's at because I can't pay attention to the story. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? I have to stop the book and be like, okay, where's my brain at? I got too much going on. So it makes me concentrate of what's going on with the story and thinking of it in my head. So, and then we got, like I said, that proprioceptive things like balance, standing on one leg. I have that, again, that's an exercise I give to a lot of seniors, now even younger, of practicing standing on one foot for 30 seconds, engaging those, engaging other body movements. That's really important for engaging the brain. I think the sound was supposed to be taste. So taste is the other thing, paying attention, closing your eyes. And like, what is your taste buds lighten up when you eat something? Actually, they were talking about like plugging your nose and just not smelling it and just focusing on what you taste. Sometimes engaging in that. So just opening up all those different senses. Okay. So emotions. So we have high stress. Like these are things that are dampening the brain. We have high stress in our society. We're overwhelmed, worry, depression, memory loss, anxiety, those are common. I'm seeing this a lot in the practice, especially this last couple of years. And that definitely it makes the brain want to shut down. And so we have to figure out ways to how we can bring joy into our life. And, some of the exercises I just said are good ways. And they're definitely related to that brain health. So one exercise is practicing that attitude of gratitude and embracing things that bring you joy. So attitude of gratitude is just like maybe stopping when you're in that stress, and there's saying you can't be worried and worried and grateful at the same time. I don't know if that's true. I think you probably can, but to stop and just be thankful, and maybe find 3 to 5 things that you can count, and that kind of shifts that brain a little bit into that. Find a couple things that you can think you can be joyful, or find the things that bring you joy, like maybe do exercise and write down the things that bring you joy. I've done that in the past in my stressful times in my life, and it's helped. One of the things physically is removing clutter, decluttering. Cluttering just does bring a lot of data to the brain, and that causes maybe and subconsciously stresses you out. We've gotten busier and busier in the office over the years, and my New Year's resolution was to clean out my office and keep my desk as clean as possible. And that has helped me be more successful this year and handle the workload I have with patients this year and keep on top of things. And so it's helped my brain be more focused on that. And then the other things is that, remove things and maybe not so much people cause stress, and not saying maybe you need to remove them, but put boundaries on them and have a small amount of time that you can spend with them, or categorize them like, okay, I can have this relationship with you if you don't show this behavior. It's okay for you not to engage in other people's stress. I like that phrase, not my circus, not my monkeys. I heard that a couple of years ago, and I love it. It's like sometimes people try to suck you into their circus, and you necessarily don't need to participate in it. So figure those things out, because that does factor into your brain and all emotions. So nutrition, my second passion at chiropractor is nutrition. I think between putting the body and letting the nervous system communicate effectively and feeding the body what it needs to heal, those two combinations, amazing the body can thrive through that. So, majority of our problems today are related to poor nutrition, some of in the brain. We have, too much sugar, too much unhealthy fats, lack of good nutrients, lack of our micronutrients that we need, or manganese, or even magnesium, some are micro, calcium. So vitamin D. We have so many things that we are deficient in our diets and our society. So I highly recommend that get away from those poor diets. And this slide was just saying poor diet causes lack of healthy brain cell production, and it causes inflammation, which actually kills brain cells. So we want to make sure that we're focusing on putting good, healthy things in our body that support the brain. So the things I generally recommend is that low-carb Mediterranean diet, which is just lots of greens and rich things, rich fish, our healthy fats, lots of water. A lot of it, again, I would like to see in our senior population. I have a lot of coffee. They drink so much coffee and no water or little water. And I'm seeing that even again in younger ages where they're not getting enough water. So trying to get at least that old recommendation of those 8 cups of the 8 ounces of water a day throughout the day. You don't have to drink it all at once, but just if you have that glass of water always filled and just sip it through the day, just to hydrate that body. The brain needs that circulation and that water. We are mostly water in our body. Also, brain needs omega-3s. That's the healthy fat. Our brains need that. Our nervous system needs that. So the general recommendation is 2,000 milligrams. I just did a webinar, and they were saying actually maybe bumping that up to 3,000 because we're so deficient on these fats these days. So making sure, and that is usually cold water fish, walnuts, your flaxseed oil. Those are things that are rich in omega-3s. And then magnesium is really good for the brain. Now, there's only certain types of magnesium that actually cross the blood-brain barrier. You can look at some of my other videos to talk about that. And then recently I've come across, we just had a rep come in and talk about some herbs that really help. Now, turmeric I've talked about in the past. We know that crosses the blood-brain barrier. It's an anti-inflammatory herb. It does help with the whole inflammation through the body, but it's really good for the brain health and inflammation of the brain. Gotu-kola is good for tissue connection. I a lot of time give that usually again with the seniors, but sometimes about 40s, 50s, late 40s, 50s, usually like women and men when their proteins and their connective tissue is kind of degrading a little bit. Now, the new herb I got introduced to is this burpularum or something. I don't even know how to say it properly, but it's shown really good research starting in Australia of anti-inflammatory properties for the brain, and they're actually using this in like dementia patients and seeing some reversal, a little bit of the dementia with doses of this. So it's, again, anti-inflammatory. Some of these also help with, they say the sugar, too much sugar is hard on the brain, just like it's hard on everything else in our body with diabetes. That's really bad for the brain too. So eliminating sugar. This actually is a slide I took from my concussion series I talked about, and I got this factoid infograph from my concussion case, and it just again talks about anti-inflammatory foods. So it's more of those greens, those cruciferous vegetables, beets are on there, walnuts, eggs actually are healthy. It's good. That's a good fat for the brain. And then again, avoiding alcohol, caffeine, salty foods, coffee, and then fried foods. And then they're talking again about curcumin, which is in the turmeric. And so, just trying to figure out like what that. It also mentions sleep in here about importance of making sure you get healthy, proper sleep. So, toxins. So avoiding toxins. Toxins do affect the brain. I know this. This is my segue because next month we're going to be doing our detox talk again. So I do it twice a year. We talk about detox because we're just polluted on a daily basis as Americans all around. So we do need to clean that liver up at least periodically. So I usually recommend spring and fall. So toxins, we're just, with the caffeine, the alcohol, the food additives that we're getting, even if you're trying to do the best you can, you're probably getting some artificial something into your diet. We have daily exposure of lifestyle chemicals, whether it be if you're a vapor or those new pods or whatever, nicotine patch pod things. You have the cleaning products that we're using. We have air fresheners and candles and makeup we put on, and even shampoos and soaps and body washes sometimes have extra chemicals and stuff that can cause problems on our body. So we need to the liver has to clean all that stuff up. And so I recommend trying to clean that up or support the liver. So, help your body get rid of that. So eat and clean, again, like eliminating those things we talked about earlier, all the bad stuff, and then adding in, your greens. Also fiber. Fiber is really important to suck up some of those bad toxins as well. And again, we're deficient in fiber. So trying to get enough fiber in your diet, that 25 to 35, I think, grams of fiber a day is what we recommend. And then you want to do some herbs of assist, so your dandelion, your milk thistle. There's other herbs that just really support the liver to healthily scrub those toxins out and attach those and get them so they can get out of your body more easily. And then we have, moderate fasting, so kind of maybe a little bit of that intermittent fasting times, learning how to fast properly, like making sure you're drinking water, but make sure you're getting protein and these fiber and all the good stuff, because then you can do kind of that intermittent fasting and learn where your body is on, like, when you need to eat, when you don't need to eat. So it's a good time to kind of get in tune with your body. I don't ever want anybody to starve, because if you're starving, that's not good. That's telling me generally that you're not getting enough fiber, enough water. So I'm always wanting to try to modify that and help your body find where it is and make sure you're properly decreasing that. Usually always when people do this detox, the first couple of days, they feel kind of gross because you're storing everything up and you get more brain fog. But then after you get over that hump, then you're like, oh, wow, I feel better. I just overall feel better. So getting rid of that on the nervous system, that's my final thing to help your body be neuroplastic better. If you want any more information, like I said, I do have lots of videos on my YouTube channel, Rachel Northern, DCCACCP. You have the website, thedoctorinu.com. If you want any more information about me. And I do have a book on Amazon called The Journey to Vibrant Health. So thanks for joining me today.